simple pleasures of it.
Now, Southwest Airlines is total chaos. They don't have any assigned seats. So everybody pours in. Have you flown Southwest recently?
No.
Jesse and Kelly DeForest, when we went to New Orleans a couple of weeks ago, they flew Southwest, no assigned seats. Helter Skelter. It's like Charles Manson took over the airlines.
Exactly.
Helter Skelter, my friend.
Exactly.
Imagine that. It's like
Oh,
musical
my
chairs.
God.
All of a sudden, people are like diving for seats. As if you went to a concert and they just opened the gates or a ball. Imagine if you went to a ball game. And it happens in Saratoga, I guess, which is opening up later on this week, Saratoga Race Course, where the people are piled up by the gate. And as soon as they open the gate, they all make a mad dash to try and claim one of the tables outside. I mean, people running. People have guys stashed in there. They pay people to wait online and claim a table for them.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here. A Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday on the Defo Show on South Florida Live. I'm Jeff DeForest, certainly doing a little bit of that. And very fresh-looking Mike Lubie Lubitz starting out the week here. Lubie, how are you? After this fine weekend that was just concluded, and looking forward to many things that are happening on the slate here as the sporting scene amplifies with football around the corner and many things still going on, including tonight. I don't know how much interest you have in the home run derby. Maybe as a betting proposition, you might be able to. Can you get like 30-1 on Jose Ramirez? That would be all right. But anyway, how are you on this fine Monday? Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday.
I'm doing well. I am doing lots of peeling. Happy for another week and ready for some actual sports action, which I think camps open up. Rookies get to camp this week, and I think camps finally open up for the NFL, which is fastly approaching. Thank God.
Yes, I mean, your summer league analysis on the NBA, which I don't know. Do we dive into that with Sean Deveney when he comes on? The interesting topic there is always not just NBA free agency anymore, but where will the mega deals be made and who can afford to make them for Donovan Mitchell and Kevin Durant, if indeed anything happens on those fronts? What if nobody can swing a deal and Durant and Kyrie are back with the Brooklyn Nets? I mean, Kevin Durant could ask for a trade all he wants. He's still under contract there for 3 more years, I think.
4 years.
And Kyrie Irving has opted to come back. And your theory would be that if they deal Durant, do they really want Kyrie Irving hanging around as they go to yet another rebuild with that franchise? And Pat Riley's always out there.
Yes, sir.
Lurking in the distance, waiting to pull off a miracle. When he got Shaq over here, man, that was something. And I think the greatest transaction of Pat Riley's executive basketball career was unloading a bloated Shaq.
Yep.
And, getting out of that thing, well, he still had, I think, 3 years and $60 million left on a contract, which at the time was somewhat gargantuan, $100 million. Now it'd be chump change. You give that to Goran Dragic for 2 years at the end of his career just to go out there and average 6 points a game as a backup. That's where the money's at in the NBA. But that was a heavy package that he unloaded when he got rid of Shaq. And yet it was a stroke of genius, or deemed to be, when he brought Shaq in here to help out Dwayne Wade. And, Shaq did his part until got to the NBA Finals and late in the playoffs when all of a sudden Alonzo Mourning, who had one of those hospital walker things, right? I mean, he looked like Andy going down the hall there after one of his heart procedures. Yeah, he had like the IV thing with the portable bag that you carry with you. That's not a favorable position to be in. I have great empathy for people that are stuck in hospitals, period. But I don't think that's the way I want to end up. I'm going to take the walk of life right off the pier there in Pompano Beach one day when I know the end is near. And now the time has come, just to set me free, my friends. And then please, if you do discover the body, if it washes up on shore somewhere, maybe Jupiter, maybe further up there in Melbourne, please take it to, someplace where they can do the cremation and then spread my ashes at the 16th pole. It may as well be at Saratoga also. That could be, even though I've only been there once, because a lot of my horses died at the 16th pole at Saratoga over the weekend as well. That did not go favorably. And here's the thing. It used to be, have you ever had a feeling of complete helplessness, Lubie?
Good.
just completely helpless.
Quite often.
Yeah, many times you were
I was going to
sitting
say
in
every
there with the
day.
program director many times when she was telling you how great it was going to be for you to get screwed over yet again. And somehow pile more work onto your ledger than you possibly could do in a million lifetimes, and yet get paid nothing for it and like it. You'll get nothing and like it.
Um,
Helplessness used to be what? In the old days, maybe you're in kind of one of those scenes out of The Vigilante where you're the victim, unfortunately, on a subway car, and people, of an unsavory nature, all of a sudden have surrounded you, and they're starting to, say things that make you think that this is not going to end well. Being chased down the street, and they realize you're going to get caught. This was part of the horror show of living in New York City, growing up as a kid. These were things that were going to occasionally happen. Falling uncontrollably? Maybe you blacked out. It happened to me when I got up out of a chair a couple of weeks ago. All of a sudden, for a second, I literally, Lubie, and this was a little bit freaky, for a split second, kind of was losing consciousness.
Oh,
And
Jesus.
then everything got clearly into focus. But for a second, I was like, "Wow, what the hell's happening?" And I guess it was like one of those blood rushes to the head, and maybe you're suffering of all things after having high blood pressure my entire life. All of a sudden, I got like low blood pressure. What the hell happened there? But people say that that's not totally uncommon. It's happened to me once when I got up like real quickly. I got a little dizzy. You feel helpless. And this time, literally, I thought I was, sort of blacking out there for a split second. I don't know how long it was, and people were talking to me, and I couldn't react.
Oh,
It's very,
Jesus.
very strange feeling. So you have kind of a helpless feeling, but I realized maybe today the most helpless feeling that you could ever possibly incur is losing your cell phone and thinking that it was gone. Right? Because you can get another one, but it's going to cause you all. It's worse than losing your driver's license. Then you have the whole thing about, well, what information is on there that somebody could glom from that? Is it unsafe from a personal information standpoint to lose your cell phone and have it fall into hands of people that maybe are not as honorable as you would hope that most people in life would be, where they would just like turn it in somewhere you might be able to find it. Anyway, this happened to me when I was out punching on, I guess it was Friday. I'm punching at the local casino here in Pompano Beach. It wasn't doing great. I ended up losing some money, and so I only had a couple of bucks on me when I got there. I go to the ATM machine on my way out, and I guess I put my cell phone on the ATM machine. And this is a bad habit of mine, sticking stuff in places where you're not going to pick it up again. It happened to me that time I lost my wallet at Hialeah after the trivia challenge when I put my wallet and my cell phone on the top of my car.
Yeah, it's always good.
And when I got home, I was so happy because the cell phone was still connected somehow. So I was thinking, wow, I mean, it's got to be in the car here somewhere. So my wallet has to be in the car also. I couldn't find it when I was leaving the place. I went back in a few times looking for it. Real Meshuggah type of stuff. I didn't realize I was distracted for a second. I didn't realize that while I was putting something in the back seat, I put my wallet and cell phone on the roof of my car. I drive off. And, after a while, how many times can you go back to the place where you were and say, hey, anybody turn the wallet in or
Yeah,
cell phone? So sure enough, I get home and I thought, well, it's got to be in the car here. The cell phone was on the roof and it's stuck there. And the
wow.
wallet, I guess, had flown off.
Yep.
But that's something, okay, so you go to the driver's license bureau. It's a pain in the ass. You go get a new license. You cancel a couple of credit cards, whatever it is. It's easily, something that you can overcome. Pain, but very much possible to undo all of the damage over a period of time. The cell phone loss, though, I mean, now nobody can contact you, right? The Mustang was out of town, so she would have no way to call me. I don't have any way to call the people that I had stuff going on with the next day. I go to the T-Mobile store, and they tell me because my name is not actually the one on the account, it's the Mustang's name,
Jesus.
that they can't do anything for me. They can't cancel it or give me even a temporary phone.
Oh, no.
I believe I'm insured for the loss of the phone, so I'm thinking I'm probably, it's not going to, be one of these $1,000 days where you already lost 300 at the track, and now here's another dime out the window. But the inconvenience of it, the feeling of helplessness for a period of time is kind of weird. So now I always try to do this. If I lose something, I try to retrace my steps and think, where was the last place I remember having this thing?
Yep.
And I done a little stint with the Greek there on his show on Friday.
Nice.
And I guess I was sort of, still, buzzing around off of that. And then I realized, wow, I never had this when I went down to play a couple of machines before I left. Unfortunately, played a couple of machines before I left this casino. I don't remember ever having my phone, which I usually leave out, right? I'll have it like on top of the machine there or whatever,
Yep.
or some right place nearby. I don't have it in my pocket. And then I realized I never had it in any of those situations, but I never went back to check if I left it on top of the ATM machine.
Interesting.
So I had gone home already, given up on the whole idea. Nobody had turned it in, but obviously nobody had found it yet
Yep.
while I was there. And then I realized, wow, it's probably still sitting on the ATM machine on top of it, right? Because I don't know if that particular machine is used very frequently. I know I have, but there's usually nobody online there. It's on the second floor. Maybe the poker players, when they have to replenish, they're firing it off there. So it hits me, and I drive back there like 3 hours later to this casino, and I go straight to the ATM machine, no cell phone, all right? So I'm thinking, all right, there's still a possibility then that somebody picked it up and was good enough, reasonably responsible enough citizen and had some kind of feeling for the human condition that they might have turned it in.
Yeah.
And when I went downstairs, I see the security girl that I had talked to, when I left the place the first time. And I could see she was making gestures like she had the phone. She was talking to
Nice.
somebody else, but she started signaling to me like, I thought,
Nice.
wow, what a relief. And sure enough, somebody had turned it in.
That's a
But
win.
for
Yeah,
3 hours, like completely helpless, right? I mean, I was thinking, what the fuck am I going to do?
well, that's the thing
You know?
is you don't have a house phone anymore. There's not even pay phones. So like you
Right.
want to, and no one knows anyone's number. So if you want to reach someone, how do you reach
I
them?
had to struggle to come up with the Mustang's number so I could even get a hold of her, which I tried to
So
do from the store so that they could give me a new phone right then and there, which now I'm glad none of that happened, right? Fortunately, it was more of a fiasco than it needed to be, and I was able to restore everything without any problem and pick it right back up where I left off. Here we go. So I don't know. Is that the most helpless feeling that you could
Yes.
possibly have now? I mean, obviously, you find out, here's another mass shooting yesterday, and you don't know what the fate is of the people that like your kids went to the mall. I mean, that's a helpless feeling for real. But it is kind of weird to sort of be detached. You could lose your laptop, computer, whatever, but you lose the cell phone, and you're really out of touch.
You're
But
screwed.
it's amazing how we become so ridiculously dependent on this at all times. All right, I'm going to have an eye chart made up. I'm going to get Marty the Party Sacks. I'm going to summon Fine Line Printing. And I'm going to have a chart, a cardboard chart that looks like an eye chart made up. And it's going to be for our Degenerate Friday shows and all shows that deal with gambling. And I think I'm going to hang it in the back right behind me, subtly reminding people that in gambling, the big E on the eye chart is the word if, I-F. If only I had done this. If only I hadn't met you, I would have never become a sick degenerate. If only, whatever it is. But if seems to preface virtually everything that has to do with degeneracy, does it not?
Yep.
If and the if for me is the defending champion Colin Morikawa missing the cut. I think cost me the $5 that was available as the winning prize in this golf pool, because all of my other guys did pretty well, and I was only 8 shots out of the lead after Saturday's round, out of first place, 3 shots out of cashing. Even with Morikawa incurring a 3-shot penalty for not making the cut, plus being at 1 over when he missed the cut. So that put him at +4, and I'm still only 8 shots out of the lead. Virtually any other guy on that list that I would have taken would have gotten me home. I don't know if all of them made the cut from that particular column. I almost took Matsuyama, but I'm not taking Matsuyama over Colin Morikawa, right? This is the defending British Open champion. There's a stat out there, too. If I had done this research, I would have been even more bitter. Because the last defending champion to miss the cut was Darren Clark, who he's also ballooned up and looks a little bit like Butterbean Ash. I'm surprised. Is he not on the Live Tour yet? Because every washed-up European is going to the Live Tour. A 46-year-old, how heartbreaking is this for me? And it's a fitting way for him to end up, huh? Being despised by, most of the people in the game now for signing up and taking Greg Norman's blood money. Here we are being judgmental again. I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's escalating, this war of words between the Live players and the Divide and the guys that didn't want to sell their souls out and sports wash this Saudi Arabian money so that they would have a better image. Wasn't Joe Biden just up there fist pumping the prince? Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Is there no way around dealing with the Saudis? I mean, are they that filthy rich?
Yes.
And that controlling of things that no matter what, I mean, they could do anything. It's kind of like when Trump was saying he could shoot somebody on 42nd Street and nobody would do anything about it. And you know what? I think that was probably the most profound, meaningful statement that Donald Trump ever made, because it looks like that's what he did, right?
Yep. In many ways.
Participated in a thing where people ultimately died. He was sort of inspiring that with his rhetoric, which was based on what he knew to be not the truth. People still believe that the election was a fraud. I mean, are there people out there that believe that? You think Steve Bannon really believes that?
There's hardcore, like right-wing people that say it. I don't know if anyone actually believes it. I mean,
are we to believe that in all future elections that are conducted in the United States of America, the number one principled democracy that is out there today, right? Where you're expecting, I mean, look, there's going to be fraud in any form of government. We've seen that, even with the most noble of, I would imagine. It's kind of like cheating in college football for a head coach. How sanctimonious can they get? There has to be some indiscretion that was taken by a guy that you could kind of shrug it off if you're Nick Saban and say, well, it was an out-of-control assistant. Why is there never an investigation, though, into Alabama or Ohio State when the NCAA had some power and clout? Never. Why were they never investigating Notre Dame, Alabama, Ohio State, any of these schools that, they consider to be the plum franchises of, University of Miami? One of their coaches would sneeze, and they would launch an investigation. Right, Butch Davis. Oh, there it is. That's a signal to some. I mean, it's like, wait, Emmert. I mean, get off our backs here. Who was the guy before Mark Emmert that really had it in for the University of Miami? Like anything they did was investigated thoroughly. But I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that the elections in the United States of America, that you can't trust them anymore? Do you really believe that, Lubie? I want to say no to that. I want to say, hey, I feel okay. I go in there, I cast my vote. I don't know. Are they really being swung by 7 million fraudulent votes going in another direction? Seems a little odd. No. All right. Anyway, Morikawa ruins me. The British Open, or the Open as they now call it, what was fascinating stuff, except for the fact that I think the professor hit it on the head. That St. Andrews was a disgrace as a test of golf. A disgrace.
It worked out for the professor.
Smith. It was a joke. I mean, now this Cameron Smith, I mean, phenomenal putting by this guy. And he was off in the third round. It looked like he was going to fall out of contention. And then he shoots 64 on the final day. I mean, he just flat out won the thing. Rory McIlroy couldn't get anything to go down. He had 2 birdies, no bogeys on the day. Certainly representative of trying to hold the lead on the final round. The guy that was playing with in the final group, Victor Hovland, was falling apart at the seams. And so he fell off the pace there. And it looked like it was going to be McIlroy. And this Cameron Smith, wow, what a lights out round to shoot 8 under par on the final day. But it shows you that this was nothing like what we normally expect from the British Open. I mention it, and I think it's a good analogy. I don't know, because of my obsession with Deadliest Catch, and you see the deckhands and how they're dressed, and that's what they look like too. Smoking a cigarette, I mean, it doesn't matter. The seas are 40 feet. None of them get seasick. It's incredible. They're eating mullet raw. And that's what the caddy should look like, right? The golfers, obviously are, dressed in their usual PGA type apparel, but the caddy should be wearing like raincoats with double hoods and gloves, and you want to see just adverse conditions, either howling high winds, rain. I mentioned this to Mike Mayo in a lunchbox. It should look like a scene out of Sharknado when they get to the road hole. Fish flying onto the course. None of that was taking place for the entire 4 days. And in fact, it just got increasingly more lovely out as these people were traipsing around this course in Scotland, that without these elements, see, now, is that really the mark of a true test of golf? That if you don't have completely adverse elements and weather and horrible, horrendous conditions, that the course literally played like you were going off to Boomers or something. You want the yellow putter? Okay, I'll take the green one then. What the hell was that? I mean, every guy is like 15 under, 16 under par, and you don't see that at the
No,
Open.
British, no.
My God, it was so easy, and they're driving greens. And here he is putting for eagle. Guy had a double eagle during the
Oh,
tournament.
my
A
God,
double
British.
eagle on a par 5. He throws in a deuce from like no distance. Driving almost to the green on the par 5. I don't know. Was there 2 par 5s? I guess there were 2 par 5s on this course, or 4. I'm not sure. 2 par 5s, 2 par 3s. Is that the way it went?
Sure.
Somehow it was a par 72 course, but I don't remember there being the usual 4 par 5s out there. But the par 5s were a complete obliteration. In terms of scores versus par, there maybe be like a 1 or 2 bogeys and a couple of zillion birdies and eagles. It was ridiculous. The scoring was so easy. I don't see how it was not testing this course, right? With no trees and the fairways wide open, even with all the undulation in the hills and the bunkers, it was pretty easy for these guys to stay out of the bunkers. Anyone that got into the bunker, Sergio, I love watching Sergio meltdowns. He had to take 3 shots to get out of a bunker at one point when I don't know that he was in contention to win the thing, but I think at the time he was like 5 or 6 under. Then all of a sudden the double bogeys, what usually for the rest of the guys was a pretty simple scoring hole. But Cameron Smith, take nothing away from him. McIlroy, more disappointment. Hasn't won a slam, a major event since 2015 now. Has been in contention, it seems like, every time. Still was a good guy to have in the pool because he was right up there at 18 under par. He ended up finishing third in a tie for third because Cameron Young eagled the final hole to go to 19 under, which put whatever remote pressure was on Cameron Smith to hole out from like 2 feet. And he handled that without any problem whatsoever. But interesting. I mean, it was packed. The Live Tour stuff got even more contentious. And now the big Swede, Iron Stenson, says he's joining the Live Tour at 46. But why are they recruiting these kind of guys?
Exactly.
No, really. I mean, it's almost like a prelim for the Champions Tour, this Live Tour at this point, right? They got all guys that are like 40 plus that had reasonably decent careers and recognizable names in Europe. Do they have young guys, coming right out of the amateur ranks and joining the Live Tour? I would think that's, the route that they would take. They would much prefer those guys to a bunch of has-been hacks. Heinrich Stenson, hardly a threat to go out there and, beat people on a weekly basis on the PGA Tour anymore. What do they need this guy for? I mean, and then they're playing the tournaments in the United States with all these European hacks. Like Martin Keimer is on the tour. Sergio Garcia has denounced everybody. In fact, Sergio Garcia denounced mankind as he tried to justify his position on the Live Tour. Stenson was the captain, though, of this I guess it's this year, the Ryder Cup, which used to be a big deal. I don't know. Is it still a big deal? Yeah, I guess it is. It's a big deal, is it not? The Ryder Cup?
It comes around.
American national pride, right. I mean, the guys get into it. That was Ken Venturi's obsession, the Ryder Cup. Remember Ken Venturi, the golf analyst? Might have been a little before your time. I mean, he's a great golfer, and I don't know how many takes they did of his shots out of the sand around the green. But, I mean, every time he did a little demonstration. And, okay, so you grip the club like this, and then you do this, and you waggle your elbow, and then you look up and down a couple of times. You juggle a few basketballs, and then you stand over the shot here, and then whoosh, and he would hit a shot. It would go like either in or right to the lip of the cup. And you're like, wait a minute, come on, Venturi. You'd still be on a tour if you could do this as a matter of routine. There's no question. What a bunch of baloney that was. That had to be some, what do they call it, where shop, the photo. What's that called?
Editing, photoshopping.
Photoshopping, yeah. Photoshopping, yeah. That had to be video, photoshopped.
Exactly.
I mean, there's no way. I mean, they put the ball right there and they make it look like he hit it. I don't know. It's kind of like in a basketball movie where, you got Robbie Benson in one-on-one. A kid couldn't make a shot if he tried, right? But they show him shooting, and then they show the ball going through, but you don't ever see the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like you're watching Steph Curry knock down a bunch of threes in warm-ups. What a horrible movie that was. Robbie Benson, one-on-one. Was that the worst sports movie ever? I mean, as cliched a joke of a movie as you'll ever find. I think Fear Strikes Out with Carl Malden and Anthony Perkins was, more entertaining by far, and that was a pretty dark, movie. That was very slow moving, as I recall, during the times I watched it on Rain Out Theater. So anyway, it was pretty crazy to see this course just absolutely annihilated like that. Venturi loved the Ryder Cup though, and was always referencing. This guy standing over a putt for like the difference of a couple of $100,000 back when that was a lot of money on a PGA Tour. And Venturi would be going, and the guy would say, "Wow, this putt might be worth like $150,000 to Mickelson." And Venturi would chime in and go, "Yes, and some valuable Ryder Cup points." And I'm thinking, fuck you, Ken.
Who gives a shit?
No one gives a shit while they're standing over this putt about Ryder Cup points to win a tournament. He was obsessed with it.
Right.
Anyway, Stenson said it was the greatest honor of his life. He was named, the European Ryder Cup captain, and this is a big deal. Zach Johnson, a real representative, red-blooded American golfer, is going to be the captain of this year's, the next Ryder Cup team. I want to say, is it this year sometime? I don't know. Not sure when that's being played. What do they do that? Every couple of years? The Ryder Cup? Every 2 years? Every 2 years. All right. So I don't know if it's this year or next year, but the Live Tour affiliation is going to cost Stenson his captaincy of the Ryder Cup team.
2023 is the next Ryder Cup. Right.
Okay. Can't wait for that.
29th of 2023.
You won't be seeing, Sergio on there. He's the all-time leading point getter. Sergio with the Live Tour connection. Those guys are out of Ryder Cup competition. So, will the Live Tour even be around? I mean, I guess the Saudis, they have enough money that even if it was bombing, would they just continue to persist to try to put this together and sign more 48-year-old European golfers to try and attract your attention to log on to like a cell phone or a computer somewhere and watch this 3-round tournament that nobody knows when they're contesting them on some apparatus that isn't even a TV? I mean, what do you think, Lubie? Is that going to stick around? How do they make that work?
I mean,
paying everybody. Everybody's getting paid too. I mean, it's not like the poor guy that finishes last every time doesn't even make his expenses and can't pay his hotel bill and has to tell the guy at the rent-a-car desk, "Well, I'll catch you next time, Whitey. Hope you're okay with that." No.
No, I mean it's not going anywhere because you just said it. It's not like the USFL, the XFL, where they have money to start, but then it goes away. Like there's so much money in this that it's not going anywhere. They just don't. They keep getting golfers that no one cares about. Like like even Koepka, it's 2 years too late. Like DeChambeau, like these are all people that are not compete. Like DeChambeau had a nice week, but when was the last time he did that? Like we haven't seen him be this competitive in a long time. And even then, like no one talked about him. Like he was in the mix in the top 8 the whole tournament. Really,
he was red hot. He was red hot a couple of years ago, and then he started to get injured, and his play fell off a little bit. And I wouldn't say he was irrelevant. He's always going to be somebody who attracts attention because of the fact that Brooks Koepka hates him. That's number one. And number two, I mean, you always like the long ball hitter. I mean, there was always a chance that this guy would do something spectacular. We always love seeing that. He screwed up in round 3 at the end. This cost me also. I don't know what the final standing was. I would imagine imagine I'm out of the money. Well, I wasn't paying as much attention, because of the Morikawa thing, and I was at the track punching away there, and a guy I was asking, if anybody saw any results, and this one guy was really on top of it, and he told me Morikawa was 3 over par with 2 holes to play. Impossible. The cut was going to be even par, and he ended up, I guess, birdieing. Did he birdie the last 2 holes on that second round? So that made it even more frustrating because the 3 shots that you get as a penalty, you get +3 for 2 days in this pool. You're not going to overcome that when everybody is assaulting par and the conditions where they were rather benign in the tournament. So that was a killer. Almost anybody else. What's that?
You had the 3rd, 4th, 6th, 8th. Lowry, who was supposedly your death now,
he came on
first, which with Scheffler, like you literally had one guy be bad. Every guy you had was within 9 strokes.
I would have won it. Yeah, I would have won
within
the
10 strokes. Every guy.
Like, any other guy, yeah.
How do you do better than that? Like, that's amazing.
That's amazing, yeah.
Jesus.
All right, it got me nothing because I picked one stiff. And it was a defending champion. Only Darren Clark, this fat old fool, was the last guy to. I mean, I think he spent the whole year on like the banquet circuit after he won the Open. Darren Clark, was one of those salty dog European players, right? You know this guy I'm talking about?
Yes.
Kind of snarling, the kind of guy you would expect to line up a cigarette. Like who was the Spanish guy?
Cabrera. Angel Cabrera was the best.
Cabrera, yeah, good
He
one.
was the best.
He ended up like he might be in prison now. Angel
Oh,
Cabrera.
no.
He supposedly assaulted some woman in his native country there, and they didn't, take a favorable view of that. Even though he was a big superstar, he wasn't able to get past these guys. I don't know. He might be doing time, Angel Cabrera. But yeah, Clark was that kind of guy. That salty dog looked like he came right out of the ocean. Right, still had barnacles on his face.
Yep.
Darren Clark. So he was the only guy. That goes way back. What was that? Was that 2010 or even before that? That Clark won the British Open and then failed to make the cut the following year. Morikawa is now the next guy to do that after at least a decade plus where it hadn't happened, that the defending champ missed the cut. One shot away from glory there, Lubie. So that's it. I mean, the big word on the top of the eye chart has got to be if you're a degenerate.
That's crazy. You couldn't have done any better. Like all your guys were competing. Even Lowry to finish tie with Scheffler. Scheffler was in like you're out 12 strokes. I mean, he was tied for 21st, but it was because everyone was tied. Like he really was. Like in
these guys are combined like 80 under par, and I get nothing.
Like, all your guys are great. Like every guy but one guy. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah. No, it's a fascinating way to play the game. And then of course, Professor had that plus 2,200. Yeah. Cam Smith, and I would imagine the Professor, doesn't he throw like a stick on these guys? So he probably picked up $2,200 there with Cam Smith winning it. And Smith came out of nowhere after round 3 where he had fallen off the pace a little bit. I think, did he shoot one over in the third round, which was impossible because everybody else was annihilating par. And then he comes back and fires a 64 in the second to last group. While, and Cameron Young also played well. The two Camerons were paired up in the second to last group, and they end up 20. I mean, Cameron Young shot 65 and loses after shooting 65 in the final round. So, I mean, that's how easy the course was compared to what it normally would be. I mean, it's not uncommon to see a guy over par win the British Open. So, it was a travesty from that standpoint. And I agree with the Professor that the course was a joke without adverse conditions. And then how could you make that then the home of golf, the true test of golf? If, these guys literally, I mean, they toyed with it. You know, they're experimenting in the middle of the British Open. Hey, let's see if I can reach this green with a wedge. You're like, what? The road hole was not particularly impossible. And a couple of things I guess are established. Tiger, it's El Finito. I don't know. He probably, I mean, if he makes a bunch of token appearances in majors next year, are you going to be upset with him? No. He seems to accept things very well. I mean, what happened, man? He found some kind of humility after all of this time?
Yeah, it happens.
Seems like a different guy, doesn't he? I think it's believable, too. That's how gullible I am. I think it's believable that he is just a different guy, Tiger Woods. I mean, maybe not in totality, but certainly he comes off as much more humble and less tense about everything, less guarded. Seems to be, a little bit more comfortable, can I say this, without getting in some kind of racial thing, in his own skin. Is that a fair statement, Lubie?
Sure. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like he's got these giant walls up as, like, say, a Derek Jeter would throughout his career. Although Jeter was a little bit nicer about it and seemed to, well, I mean, Jeter didn't have this level of scandal, although he easily could have fallen into it, right? Where, but he was never married, right? So all of his philandering, Jeter, how can you blame him, right? It's the American way, my friends. The American way.
That's why he never got crap. That's why Woods got crap, because he was married the whole time.
All right. What about the home run derby tonight, Louis? What's your level of interest in that home run derby?
I don't even know who's in it.
Isn't that tonight? Yeah, it is tonight. You have what? I have the field here. You want the odds or anything? You want to make a pick? I mean, obviously the favorite is going to be the two-time defending champion, Pete Alonso, the New York Mets slugger, who is having a nice year. I think he's hitting like 270. He's got over 20 homers and has knocked in a ton of runs, like 70 RBIs. He's up there among the leaders in all of the power categories. I have it right here. You ready, Lubie?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
All right. You have. These are odds to win the. How about this one, man? That's a great prop bet because you would have no idea how this is going to go. Odds to win the All-Star Game MVP.
Nice. Definitely. That's
MVP.
important.
Shohei Ohtani is the favorite at minus 105. You got to lay a price on Shohei Ohtani. Now, is he going to pitch and hit in the All-Star Game?
You would think.
You think he does both?
You should.
All right.
We won't see.
All right, you got that. And then the American League favorite to win the MVP is, National League favorite is Paul Goldschmidt. The American League favorite is Ohtani.
Nice.
Okay. How about this? Maybe Anthony Rizzo smacks a home run on a double, and you get 125 to 1. Anthony Rizzo.
There you go.
Wouldn't that be? I mean, if you were going to take a shot, why would you bet Ohtani at less than even money? That would be ridiculous. All right, let me try to find a home run derby odds here for you, because I know you want to get involved.
Definitely.
Okay, home run derby. Pete Alonso is the favorite. You're getting a price though, as you're getting almost 2 to 1.
Yes.
How about Kyle Schwarber, man? He's been knocking the crap out of the ball.
Yep.
He's a little over 3 to 1.
Yeah, plus 300.
Juan Soto, who just rejected, what was he? Just in
$40 million.
rejection mode, $440 million for 15
He wants
years.
out. What that is.
Says, don't insult me with this offer, right? Why don't you take that and shove it right up your ass there? Right?
Exactly.
Telling the Nationals brass. And you're getting 6 to 1 on Soto. I don't see Acuna winning it for some reason, so he'll probably win it.
Yep.
Julio Rodriguez, Corey Seager, Jose Ramirez is 15 to 1, one of the biggest long shots. And the long shot in the field is the aging Albert Pujols, who probably has maybe one round in him, and then that's it, right?
Exactly.
He hits 0 home runs if he gets out of the first round. I guess you can bet this round by round also. I mean, how sick is that?
See, that's the move. Because each round it resets, but if a guy goes crazy in the first round, usually he's gassed by the end.
Pete Alonso in the finals, there are a bunch of prop bets associated with that. Defeats Kyle Schwarber. You get 5.5 to 1 on that. Loses to Kyle Schwarber, you get 6 to 1 on that. Alonso Schwarber final possibility. I don't know. I think this one is going to go some other direction, some weird direction. Maybe Acuna wins it, right? The least likely guy.
Acuna feels like the move. He's trying to get back into the swing of things. I'm
going to go against you on that, Lubie. I'm going to say Jose Ramirez, 15 to 1. How old is Jose Ramirez? Like 100? I don't know.
No.
What would be the reason that he would be such a prohibitive factor in here? Anyway, that's tonight, the home run derby. But will it gather your attention? I would imagine I'll tune into some part of it. Will Chris Berman still be on the call? Did they bring back that?
I don't think you get Berman, but Rizzo's 29. Not Rizzo, I'm sorry. Ramirez is 29.
29. Okay, so why is he such a long shot? Doesn't he hit the hell out of the ball? Jose Ramirez, couldn't he be a possibility? 15 to 1. I'm going to give you Ramirez at 15 to 1, Lubie. You got it here first. Home run derby prediction.
There you go.
If, right? The big word at the top of the eye chart has to be if. You think Marty Sachs can print that up for me? And I want to hang it right in the back here.
Okay. Behind you. Yeah, that's about right.
I'm gonna hook it up behind me, or I'll just have it as a handheld prop, which would add a little to the production value of the show here. But if it wasn't for Morikawa missing a cut by one, that would have been something of beauty watching those results on the final couple of days. How can I still have been in there with a shot, Lubie, with a guy that they're going to get saddled with 7 over par for the tournament?
Mo, that's annoying because that's how good your guys did.
Yeah.
It's really, I was
almost overcame that. Almost overcame it. Wow.
I'm like, I know Morikawa didn't make it, but I'm like, but every other guy he has is doing well. I'm like, how does he not win this thing? Like, what are other people doing?
Hey, one shift in thinking. It's the big magic if. All right, we're coming back. We're going to talk a little NBA buckets. Sean Deveney, Heavy.com is where he is now. Was with Sports Illustrated for many years. Real good guy, and thorough on the money analysis, Lubie. Not one that's inclined to a lot of Windhorst type hyperbole. I don't know. Is Windhorst talking about anything specifically? Like when they go to Windhorst, does he ever actually tell you anything? I don't think so. No.
He's very good at like giving scenarios, but being super generic. It's like
Yeah. Well, if they could do this, they could do that. He uses the word "if," right? It's all bullshit.
For sure.
Woj, I mean, you tend to have some faith in Woj, but he's more reporting on things. I guess he's in the prediction business as to how things are going to go. The Knicks still seem obsessed. At least the New York press is obsessed with the idea that the Knicks are going to get Donovan Mitchell, and they feel, unlike you, that this is going to be a dynamic step forward for them because they'll have the best backcourt that they've had now with Jalen Brunson if they get Mitchell, regardless of who they have to ship out and how badly depleted their roster will be, or I don't know. Do they have a lot of future draft picks they can trade for this guy?
Oh, yeah, they have 8 picks.
Yeah.
The next, 2 drafts, I think. They loaded up picks. Okay, good luck.
Is that worth it? I mean...
It's fine. If you're the Knicks, you sort of have to do the move because at least Mitchell's an all-star, but it doesn't make them better than the 8th seed. I mean, that's not my thinking. That's literally everyone that talks NBA or knows anything about the NBA. I mean, that's just the reality. The East has a lot of teams right now. There's like a log jam. Like it's the Bucks, and then there's between 2nd to 6th seed. There's a lot of teams, and then I guess the Knicks could be fighting with the Raptors. I guess. I mean, I don't know. The Raptors to me are still better. The Hawks are better. It would be them, the Cavs, and the Hornets fighting for like the 7th through 9th seed.
I guess it's worth trading and mortgaging whatever future possibilities you have. I mean, some of the picks that they've made over the years. Anybody seen much of Frank Ntilikina lately? Phil Jackson, Brett.
What are those?
Don't get cute, man. Don't take a skinny Frenchman who can't shoot. Come on, Phil. What about the legacy, man? That was tarnished severely there. Although I guess you couldn't consider Porzingis a mistake. Gallinari actually turned out to had a lengthy NBA career. I mean, not too bad for a guy that was drafted somewhere. It wasn't like a top pick.
Top 10, I think. Yeah. I think it was top 10.
All right. Speaking of drafts, what do you know about Jacob Berry? Mike Lubie-Libetz.
Yeah, a long ball hitter from LSU, which is what the Marlins need. I just don't know if this regime will be there when he finally makes it up. We still haven't seen Peyton Burdick or JJ Blade, and they were drafted before the guy who pitched Saturday. So,
what happened to JJ Blade? Remember we were out there. We bought the whole stroke job that they were giving us. That Blade was just absolutely torching the ball and looked fantastic. We saw him in the batting cage there. When he was like on one of those distant fields hitting home runs. Yep. JJ Blade. Well, where's he at, man?
He's still in the minors and he's doing well. I don't know why he hasn't seen the light of day. Mayer literally was drafted last year, not this draft, last draft. And he's lit it up and he's already been in the majors. Now, of course, he was a disaster Saturday. But
was he a disaster? He gave up a couple of home runs. I think he only gave up 2 runs, the guy. Wasn't horrible.
He gave up 5.
Did he give up 5? All right.
All 5 were counted to him. But he was pitching well into like the 4th, 5th inning, and he's a young kid, and he had no help. Yeah. And, it's a lot of pressure. When
it looked like they grabbed Danny Almonte off a Little League roster, didn't it?
Oh, his face looks young.
Yeah, my God. You were like, wait a minute, this guy's in the bigs?
But they just drafted him. Like, he was drafted after both Blade and Burdick. And both are supposed to be their only bats they have in the minors, and they won't see the light of day. So the Marlins are sort of a disaster. Again, you said it. They were within 1 game again, played a Phillies team that is not good, and just got swept and scored. They were outscored 16-1 in the series versus
1 run in 3 games. Yeah, horrendous. Every time they get close, right? What do? Yeah. We blame Jeter now that he's gone? You may as well blame Jeter. Blame it on the dead guy. That's always the way to go. All right, we'll get into some NBA stuff with Sean Deveney later on in the NFL with Brett Tessler, the agent of the Stars. It's the Defo Show. Great to be with you on this fine Monday morning, a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday, where if you're peeling yourself off the mat, why not think about just livening up your day and heading down to Hialeah and pretend it's a weekend all over again, man? Because it's party time in Hialeah at all times. They open up at 9 a.m., the casino doors, and it's a good vibe right from the start of the day until they close them up at 3 a.m. on the weeknights and 5 a.m. on the weekends. Great stuff going on at Hialeah Park. Casinos hopping, as we say. A lot of jackpots being paid out. Some like $1 gazillion in jackpots in the month of June. We're paying out. They're like setting records in that category, and there's nothing like it, right? So you walk out of a casino, you walk in with nothing, you come out with $80,000. Wow. That's the way to do it. That's happening in Hialeah Park. And more frequently, you're seeing these just gigantic payoffs on the Royal Reels slot machines that they have there. Fantastic. I don't really get all of the new slot machines, Lubie, do you? Where, you're chasing a buffalo and
I don't understand
whatever. That. Yeah, I used to like... Wheel of Fortune was complicated enough for me when those were very popular. Remember that? Wheel of fortune. Everybody wanted to get a spin, and then the spin would always hit the lowest number for some reason. Not at Hialeah Park, where they really want you to go out there and have a good time. Poker room's great. Always dynamic stuff going on in the poker room. You want to play high-end stakes, no problem. They have tables there. You want to play like $1, $2, or whatever the lowest minimum bets could be, they have that for you also. They want you to have a good time there and find a game that's to your liking. And then, of course, Champion Simulcasting Room is one of our favorite places anywhere on the planet. Just a great spot. Punch away on the historic Saratoga meet. I think they're only dark on, is it Mondays? Yeah, I think Mondays. I think they race Tuesday through Sunday. Toga. So that's going on right now. Fantastic stuff. I mean, a lot of beautiful horses on the track, and what better environment to catch it in than the Champion Simulcasting Room at Hialeah Park. Always good stuff going on. Check the calendar of events for all of the special events they have, and get a player's card when you walk through the door, and it entitles you to all kinds of freebies and amenities that are really uncommon and out of the scope of most of the programs that they have, the rewards programs. So really a terrific job being done by all the people at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with more. Sean Deveney going to join us here in just a couple of minutes. Get into some of these NBA conspiracy theories and conversations about who's going to end up where, and will the Heat? I mean, did they come out of the woodwork and somehow make a move? That's always the interesting thing with Pat Riley. That at the last second, right? You didn't think he was getting Jimmy Butler, did you? And I don't know that people thought it was going to be as big of a deal as it turned out to be. So we'll come back with Sean Deveney of Heavy.com in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:46.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone when you can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side? To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by asleep to say we end the heartache and 1,000 natural shocks.
What could that have been about except
Gambling.
to hedge or not to hedge?
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
Not saying I can completely deny this. One of our faithful viewers and listeners, Andy, is suggesting that if there was a live tour for broadcasters, we'd both be speaking Arabic on Al Jazeera right now. Lubie, what are you talking about? There were 100 million. Yeah, I would have to consider that. And maybe, and I would be exactly like an aging Heinrich Stenson. the big Swede saying, "Hey, show me the money." All right. Speaking of money, when it comes to money reporting and the NBA, there's nobody more spot on this beat than Sean Deveney, who's frequently joined us on our programs. He's with Heavy.com right now, wrote basketball for Sports Illustrated, many other prominent organizations, and it's always a pleasure to have him on the show. Sean, how are you this fine morning?
I'm doing well, Defo. How are you?
I'm good. I'm bitching about everything, the money I lost over the weekend. Colin Morikawa, I don't know if you're a golf fan, not making a cut at the British Open probably cost me $5,000, as I would have just slaughtered this golf pool that I was in. So a lot of complaining, going on. How have you been? I mean, are you immersed? How seriously or how observant are you of this NBA Summer League, which all of a sudden is saturating all ESPN networks? I don't think you can dodge a game, and yet it's very hard to identify a single player on the rosters of these teams. How much do you dive into that, Sean Deveney?
Yeah, I was out there for a little bit, and one of the things that you notice is there's a lot of GMs, there's a lot of coaches, and they'll spend time watching their own teams, but other than that, they don't spend a lot of time watching games. They're all just sitting chatting with each other, eating hot dogs.
Yeah.
So, I think that their opinion of the quality of basketball is similar to the rest of us. It's not the best stuff you're going to see. But obviously, some young guys, getting a chance to make an impression. Some guys who are sort of clinging to the last shreds of a career, trying to make an impression as well. So it's always interesting to see, what winds up coming out of it. For the guys who impress you while you're there, and then wind up not getting a deal or wind up getting a deal in the end.
I don't know that I need to see it, dominating like primetime television on sports channels, the NBA Summer League. But it is interesting, and I like those kind of stories. I'd imagine you do too. Of the young guy that was completely overlooked, and somehow he gets out there, he gets in an early game in garbage time, somehow ends up impressing the coaches and makes it to the NBA, or conversely, an aging veteran who maybe gets another year contract. Because he looked like he could still function. What have you seen? I mean, outside of the guys that obviously the top few players in the draft, Holmgren got attention, and Jabari Smith, and of course Banchero. But did you see anybody that like kind of came out of the woodwork there that impressed you, or is there any talk about that kind of player?
Yeah, certainly Cam Thomas from the Nets was one of the top scorers in the summer league, and we've seen some flashes from him last year. They are hopeful that he can be a factor, especially if they wind up clearing the decks of Durant and Kyrie Irving. So he was certainly impressive. I thought the number 4 pick, and that's not exactly calling out of the woodwork, but Keegan Murray from Iowa, chosen by the Kings, and it was a pretty controversial pick. Gabe Nagy was still on the board. They had the opportunity to make some trades. They went with Keegan Murray, who's sort of seen as a safe player, but he was fantastic, and he really did look good. And for a Kings organization that hasn't had a whole lot go right for it, that was worth the price of admission over the last couple of weeks there. So. So some guys that stand out. Calvin Gailey from Florida State wanted to get in a contract with the Celtics because he played as well as he did. That's the kind of story of he's 25, he's kind of on the last chance to get himself with the team, and really did play well, showed a lot of improvement. So he's a guy who could wind up sticking in the NBA for a few years after really squandering his first couple of opportunities.
Sean, you brought up the Nets. They've been in the news not for their summer league, but for the idea of both their superstars possibly being gone. However, over the weekend, the news sort of was, and it's not shocking to me, but the news was, well, they may hold on to Durant. Well, duh. I mean, to me, it's obviously they'd like to hold on to Durant. It was never like that. That was what was weird to me. It was like, well, duh. Of course they'd want to hold on to Durant. The idea was Durant wants out. So how much say does Durant have? Because supposedly Durant's the one that wanted out, but they haven't liked any of the packages, so they may keep him. Well, obviously they want to keep him. Like, how much say does Durant have in this? Because it seems like he wants out, and the Nets are sort of not obliging him.
Yeah, I think the Nets are making a good faith effort to try to find a package for him, but nothing's emerged that's really gotten them interested. I think part of the problem is this goes to Durant, and if you're going to make a trade demand 2 hours before the start of free agency, the way he did on June 30th, you can't expect there to be teams lined up with you're a week after the draft, and teams could have done a lot more to get their ducks in a row to make an offer at the draft. There are other ways to have handled that for Kevin Durant. So if it's hard for the Nets to find a package at this point, part of that is on Durant and the timing of all this. There's that aspect. I think the other thing though is that they don't want to come back next season with Kevin Durant unhappy and have him on the roster and Kyrie Irving. They don't necessarily want to do that. I think they would because they know that Kevin Durant's not Ben Simmons. He's not going to dog it. He's not going to sit out. He wants to play basketball. He's getting to the end of his career. If he's with the Nets, he's going to give 100%. But at the same time, look, they want to make a move here. They want to move on from this. They don't want to be in a situation where they're bringing back a guy who doesn't want to be there. So, yeah, they would be comfortable with it. It's not what their preferred outcome would be. And I think they'll continue to try to find a deal and probably will in the end.
It seems like a lot of that conversation has cooled, and in the meantime, very much in focus is Donovan Mitchell, and the idea that he will be available in another one of these sort of mega package deals. All of the conversation, I don't know if you follow, the New York paper, Sean Deveney, but wow, I get the New York Post every day. He's already in a Knicks uniform. So a couple of things come up. I mean, is that a good move for the Knicks? They have, as Lubie mentioned earlier in the program, like 100 draft picks in the next few years. They've been staggering to find an identity there and become, the number one draw in New York while all of this infighting is going on with the Brooklyn Nets. And they failed to score a championship, even though they had at one time Durant, Kyrie, and James Harden, where it looked like they might be a cinch. But do you see this Mitchell deal taking place? Does he end up in New York? And where in the background is Pat Riley lurking, if at all, in both the pursuit of Durant and Mitchell?
Well, yeah, to start with Pat Riley, I think, he's in the same position that a lot of other teams are in. When you're trying to build a team and teams are asking for the number of draft picks that they're asking for these days, it becomes really difficult. So, if you're the Lakers, they've got 2 draft picks available to trade. Miami, I think, maybe has 3, but none in the immediate future. They're more down the line picks. And these teams are coming out and asking for picks in return for these star players. And you just don't have them, because, Miami's already made trades for, whether it's Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry, and you lose picks as all this goes on, and that's it. I mean, you don't have anything to offer. So the Heat are trying to find ways to bring in some added draft picks so that they can get involved in these trades. If they can't do it, they're not going to be able to get into these. So that's sort of where they're sitting right now. But the Knicks certainly are in position to play hardball with the Jazz, and the Jazz are doing likewise. It's going to take a while because they want to make sure when you're trading away a guy like Donovan Mitchell, certainly when you're trading away a guy like Kevin Durant, you want to make sure you're getting as much as you possibly can. And I know a lot of people are getting impatient, but I always say, you think back to when Kevin Love got traded from Minnesota. That happened, I believe it was August 7th. It was early in August. The Kyrie Irving trade in 2017. That took place in mid-August. Kevin Garnett, when he was traded from Minnesota to Boston, that was July 31st. So, yeah, I know people get kind of tired of talking about this, but just go on another 2 weeks at least. That's the history of these things. Then teams are going to be patient.
Sean, do you, and I was going to talk about the Heat. That was the news over the weekend from the Heat standpoint is, to me, it felt like you sort of just move on. Riley doesn't move on. Like the destination seems like the Knicks. Riley's like, well, so that was the news of the weekend was the Heat are trying to get a draft pick. And then that way they can, I think, offer 3. If they can get a 13-man, they can offer up to 3 to 4 draft picks plus Robinson and Hero, maybe some other guys. But let me ask you, you just made it seem like you sort of feel like, yeah, it may not happen today, but it's going to happen. Do you think both, or at least one of these two guys, Durant or Mitchell, moves this summer? Because it feels like the Jazz and the Nets are going to take their time, and they really can. I mean, both guys have 3 and 4 years left on their deal. Like, do you see this going into the season, or this will be done, you think, well before the season?
I think there's no question that Donovan Mitchell gets traded, because you do have an interested party with the Knicks who can eventually put together the right package, and they've come close. It's just a matter of haggling now. And again, that's not to say another team couldn't come in with an offer, but he's going to move one way or the other, just because at the very least, that the Knicks can make a suitable offer for him. So I think you start with Mitchell. Durant's a much tougher, that's a much tougher deal because he's older. He's 34, so some teams are a little hesitant to give up too much for a guy like that. Maybe the Warriors decide, okay, let's go all in and bring him back. I know that there's strong sentiment in that organization to not do that. I think if there was a chance that Durant wound up in Phoenix, then I think you'd see Golden State step in and try to make an offer to keep him from going to Phoenix. But anywhere else, I think they'd be pretty much okay with that. I think, again, Durant's just a much tougher case to find the right package and to find the right deal. But I think there's no question that Donovan Mitchell does get moved.
Excellent stuff as always. Sean Deveney, Heavy.com is where you can find his work. Longtime NBA writer. And, a very, very valid point about these blockbuster transactions usually taking place later in the off season than people are just foaming at the mouth. It seems every second you're seeing 6 guys analyzing where Kevin Durant is going on TV. And you're thinking, how much speculation can you actually spread around out there before something actually happens? So a lot to shake out. We appreciate your insight on NBA basketball always, and looking forward to talking to you again real soon. Thanks so much for being with us, Sean Deveney of Heavy.com.
Okay, thank you, guys.
All right, Sean, thanks.
Thanks a lot. Very knowledgeable guy here, Sean Deveney, always on the money.
Sir.
Pat Riley lurking in the background, huh? He trades Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, somebody else, probably like a dead guy. Maybe Udonis Haslem is thrown in the deal.
Haslem won't be thrown.
Goes to the Knicks, yeah. Somehow shaving his salary gets him just by a microscopic amount, many decimal points away from the zero. He gets in under the salary cap on some early bird rule, and then boom, Kevin Durant pitching a rock here for the Miami Heat. What do you think? Durant, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo should be a pretty formidable trio. No,
it feels like the Nets want more than the Nets aren't going to give up Durant without an All-Star, and the Heat aren't giving up an All-Star. So I think the Heat are sort of out of the Durant thing. The Mitchell one's interesting. The Knicks can give a better deal. 100% if draft picks are what they're worried about.
Yeah.
I don't know why he'd want to go there. I mean, he's putting it, it's like what Wade did in the years between Shaq and LeBron. Like Wade sort of put his career on pause for like 5 years, and it worked out. They went to 4 finals. He won 2 titles, but he was trusting Riley, like Donovan Mitchell is pretty much putting his career on pause for like 3 years. If he goes to the Knicks, which is fine. He's 25, but you have to know that organization's going to retool. And in that 3 years, have a better organization. That's why Butler came. The Heat were a disaster. But Riley's like, look, we've done it before. We'll do it again. I promise you, come here. It'll be a lot better than if you stay in Philly. And Butler believed him. What have the Knicks done to prove to Mitchell that they can do anything but clear out?
He's a New York guy, isn't he? New York basketball player.
He's from Connecticut. He's a Northeastern guy.
Okay.
And I get that, but he wants to win. He's been in the playoffs every year of his career in the West and competed in the West.
Yeah, but they already got rid of Gobert, so
I know.
That was a big key to their success there. The Utah Jazz, what success they had, And look, I can't blame the guy for wanting to go somewhere else. I mean, you talk about basketball purgatory. It's either Sacramento or Utah, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I can say wanting to leave. I just don't the New York Knick thing. Like to me, I guess this isn't. He didn't ask out. This is the Jazz saying, "Look, it's stupid for us to have."
I think it was a dream of his, though, going back to
Yeah, it's a
idolizing Dean Meminger or something. It's one of those things, yeah. Dean the Dream Meminger, man, out of Marquette.
I know.
A lot of people were happy the Knicks got Meminger. I guess he was functional, but wow, just didn't quite have the game to stack up in the pros. It worked in college, whatever he was doing. All right, we're going to come back with more. Thanks to Sean Deveney for joining us here. Don't forget about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And, the Jimmer, I guess, was in Atlantic City. Was he having some kind of fishing tournament or something? Saw him pictured with Jay Rokeach, the longtime University of Miami Stadium and Arena announcer. And the Roker was hosting or emceeing some event that Jimmy was part of in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So whatever he was doing, and they were buying a marina there that I do my little walk of life by. So when I'm staying at Harris, so it looked like it was fishing tournament related. Is that possible? Let's go out there, man. They're killing them with the fluke and flounder right there in the bay. You don't even have to go out into the ocean. But anyway, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, always a great place to chill out because Jimmy's all about like the freshest of fish. And Larry Calvano and Dominic and Jemmy, the people that are behind the scenes there running the show, just doing a tremendous job of acquiring the freshest of seafood. It is so great. You can get it any way that you want it too. Louis, you want it fried? Bingo, they can do that. You want it with like pistachio and crustacean? They could do that. Crab meat on top, whatever you want. They have it there. It's absolutely fantastic. And, there's nothing like it too. I remember first time I had a meal at a restaurant in the Keys, I was at the local edition down there of the Isla Morada Fish Company, which there was only one place. And literally, I mean, you could taste the difference. I mean, it was sensational that, we saw the guy, like the fish was flopping before they brought it into the kitchen. It was great. And that's what they're doing at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And then they have all kinds of variety, too. I mean, it's not just like, high-end stuff, but you can go out there and get one of those tremendous pizzas. Very innovative with all of the pizzas that they do there. The nachos are fantastic. Anything that they serve there, just really, really great. Great for the whole family, too. You got a picky little kid there that's going to be a brat about everything. Even that kid can be satisfied at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Perfect vacation spot. They have accommodations there. You can check that out at jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com. Or if you're just stopping by, if you're going to any destination in the Keys, or just want to spend, like, it's not that far even. I mean, you can whack it up in like an hour and a half from Broward County.
Yep.
Here, if you're living in South Florida, less than that if you're coming from Dade. And be in a whole different environment, even if it's just for the day. It's fantastic. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway, just south of Florida City. And that's just a dynamite place to hang out in Key Largo. All right, we're coming back with more. Brett Tessler, the agent of the Stars, is going to talk about the NFL training camps opening up around the corner. What are the big questions there, Lubie, NFL this year? Who's under more pressure, Derek Carr or Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers?
Tua's on a lot of the pressure list / is this it / who's next? Whatever.
You are a firm believer that Tua is going to hold up and hold up very well under these circumstances.
They have a lot of talent around him. I mean, there's no reason
I want to believe this. I do want to believe it. I do like Tua. Guys, suffered a lot of indignity, from the fans here, thinking that he really can't throw the ball. And that he's going to be. I mean, and look, it's always bad when the guy that was taken right behind you, Justin Herbert, looks like he's going to be a superstar in the league. Well, whether you want to give him that credit right now or not,
he's great talent-wise,
but he's shown way better than Tua has as a pro quarterback so far.
His stats are amazing, 100%.
Yeah. No, but he looks the part, though. I mean, he really does. I don't know. I mean, it's not like he's dealing picks like Ryan Tannehill was in his senior year in college.
That's true.
Like he was handing out wedding invitations. I usually go with bar mitzvah on that one. But, you get the point, right? I mean, if you look at the professor pointed that out to us, the professor, a very astute observer of college football, because he invests in it like Andy does in the stock market, right? So you have to know your stuff, right?
Yep.
And he pointed that out to us that when the Dolphins drafted Tannehill, his final year, I mean, he was literally at the end of the year falling apart at the seams, throwing picks. And these were just like horrendous picks, not even ones where you go, wow, right, sensational play by a defensive back or just bad luck there. Ball got tipped in the air. I mean, these were just blatant. He's looking to the left, throws an out pattern right to a guy who's standing there and goes back the other way for a pick six.
Yep.
Can you say Jay Fiedler? No, Fiedler wasn't that bad. We can't rip Jay Fiedler. It's been a story, though. It was a story of Dolphin quarterback play for years in the post-Marino era because of what, Lubie? The simplest of principles is in play here. The curse of Marino.
Curse of Marino. He's alive, and he still loves it. He still works with the Dolphins.
Outrageous that they even considered letting this guy go to the Minnesota Vikings with a little stupid helmet with horns on it. Oh, please. Dan Marino. That's what they wanted to do to the guy because he hurt his Achilles. He tried to play, and he wasn't quite the same guy after that. All right? And it wasn't like they had him surrounded by the greatest of talent, and it wasn't as if he was sucking up all the money on the salary cap either. What do you think they paid Marino when he was a quarterback? $5 million? Imagine that.
I don't know. I don't think he wants to know.
Marino, I mean, he's got plenty of capital. He doesn't look like he's hurting at all.
Fine. He's been smart business-wise. But.
Yeah. And yet, I mean, it has to really, you would think it eats at him because he's very competitive that you see like Kirk Cousins getting paid $40 million a year. And you're asking yourself, well, what the hell would I be worth today? Can you really do that? You can't play that game in life, can you, Louie?
No, it's stupid. You can. You definitely can. I just don't know how smart that is, how healthy that is.
No, not a good thing. All right, we're going to come back with more. And Brett Tessler is going to join us, about 8:35 here this morning? Is that the deal?
Sure.
Very good. So we'll get into some NFL and have some thoughts on the home run derby because I was a big fan of the original show with Mark Scott behind the microphone. The interviews, and there was like no atmosphere, right? So the guy would get up there and he got his, they did it by innings, Lubie. So, a guy got 3 outs. So it would be Willie Mays. He gets up there in the top of the first, hits a couple of home runs, makes his 3 outs, and then he comes up to the booth to talk with Mark Scott. They're at this place called Wrigley Field in Los Angeles, which was like a minor league park out there that they had in Los Angeles, California. And this was shot in 1959. The show aired in 1960. And I remember I was thrilled because any sports on TV at that time was just like, oh, my God, this is paradise.
Yeah.
But the interviews were pretty funny. We'll come back and talk about it. Yeah.
It was like quiet. It was just weird.
Yeah. Yeah, you could hear, bugs in the background. Yeah.
It was just
Crickets.
weird.
And he go, well, Willie, how did you feel about that first inning? And he would go, well, I caught 1 or 2. And, Mickey Mantle was really the ultimate shucks guy on that series. I think he made 5 appearances. But I believe the series only ran for 1 year. And then the guy, Mark Scott, checked out. He had a heart attack at 45 and died right at the height of his fame. And the show was distributed by a famous TV distributor, like the number 1 distributor at the time. It was called Ziv Television, Z-I-V. I think that was some Jewish kid from Brooklyn, just started this company and became a monster in the syndication game. But, just 1 year, I believe, of the Home Run Derby. I remember watching, I probably saw every episode more than once. Mark Scott was the man. Should they not pay tribute to these guys? Did they put up any footage of the old Home Run Derby before they get the thing rolling on ESPN tonight? What do you think?
Maybe.
Unfortunately, it's a better event than the All-Star Game itself. The All-Star Game has turned into just pure boredom. Mostly what? Because you've seen these guys compete against each other in interleague play? Is that deaden the value of the All-Star Game, or does it make any difference?
No, all the All-Star games suck. Like it became such about the show and nonsense that they've just degenerated into nothing.
Yeah.
They used to eat. Baseball was always the closest one, and then Selig screwed up and tried to make it too important, and that really just pissed people off.
Yeah.
So now it doesn't matter at all.
Like nobody gives a flying one. Players don't care. Yeah.
It'd be a show for the first 3 quarters, and then the 4th quarter they'd care. Now they don't care at all. Like it's just all the All-Star games. The Pro Bowl, they're talking about just getting rid of it altogether, which I wish they would.
Yeah.
Like all the All-Star games, the NHL one, it's like 20-14. Like
I don't even know if they play a game anymore, NHL All-Star Game. I really don't.
I don't know what they do.
I'm not sure what they do for the All-Star Game in the NHL anymore. I used to, Ed Kaplan told me that was an annuity. Take the over. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here. Brett Tessler is going to join us in a while. We'll talk a little home run derby and be back with more on the Defo Show. Appeal yourself off to Matt Monday here in South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz returning in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:14. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Don't gamble in anger.
She hit the daily.
Very calm. Think it through. If you need a little help, don't gamble in anger.
I get a panicked phone call, and he says, "Do you have any extra cash?" I go, "Yeah, I brought money with me to Atlantic City." He goes, "Well, I can't get any more out of the card because the Mustang went wild and emptied the daily allotment of cash."
Double nickels, man. She went for a nickel on her card and a nickel on mine.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
I'll never forget that we ran back to the Borgata after we made that score, hit a daily double, ended up getting back about $850 or something, but needed it desperately to avoid going to the cash machine. And it's always a little sad when you're among the 11 or so people that are lined up at the various ATMs around any casino destination at 12:01 because it's a new day. And you can get new cash, but you might be out of it before you even get to breakfast. So I guess you could put a higher limit on the card, but then what if somebody confiscates the card or somehow gets hold of it and decides they figured out what you're using as your mathematical code, which would it be worth a few guesses? I don't know. People like to actually use like 1, 2, 3, 4. As their secret code, and a guy, some thief picks it up, boom, puts it in there, and the next thing you know, your bank account's cleaned out, and that's an ugly situation. So it's worth having these limits, I guess, on your ATM card. No, Libby, like what's the maximum you could draw off your ATM card, or do you put a limit on it?
Usually 500. It's usually 500.
Okay, yeah,
I don't mess around.
That's I'm at a nickel somewhere in that category, and lately my withdrawals have been frequent and even more generous. It's not a good situation, but I will not, Lubie, I will not be betting on the home run derby here tonight. Although we do want to make some picks. Now, that's why, because I'm not betting on it is, the main reason that I can give you this guy who's 15-1 with some kind of conviction, because if I'm wrong, so what? Do you want to be wrong about the chalk? I'm going to bet this. And the guy seems very determined in these competitions. Pete Alonso of the Mets, I think, and I kind of dig this. If you're going to watch a thing like that, you want to know, you want to know the guy is taking some pride in being a participant, that he's out there to win the thing. He's not just out there, to have a few smiles, hold up whatever drink he happens to be, sports drink he endorses, and, parade around, changing caps, like he was a NASCAR driver in a winner's circle so that he can get all of his sponsors the money that, that they are so generously according him to be their spokesperson. Although, I don't know, MLB really doesn't allow all of that to go on, do they? I mean, I'm making that part up. But it's good. I mean, you want to see willing and participants that are going to be competitive in this thing. I think it drags on too long. I really do. Did they shorten it up at all? It just it drags on too long. By the time you get how many rounds would there be? Let's see. They start with 8, so they whittle that down to 4. Then there's 2.
Yeah, 3 rounds.
Yeah, 3 rounds.
Yeah, it goes on forever.
By the time they get to the 3rd round, I mean, we've seen it any number of times where the guy that put on the most enormous performance. Who is the drunk guy in the outfielder? Hamilton?
Josh Hamilton had that one round that was spectacular. Yeah. That was the last one I gave a shit about. It was in the middle of people saying the home run derby was done, and then Hamilton did like 26 runs or something. I remember watching with my parents. I was at their house, and just like it brought me back to my youth. But then he didn't even make it to the finals. That's a waste.
Right, he was so out of gas after launching like 26 missiles of 500 feet plus. Little kids are in the upper deck and they're catching balls. It was amazing. That was a great performance. There have been many others, where you just thought, wow, that's an eye-popping performance, even against batting practice pitching. That guy can have that much power and hit ball after ball right out of the park. It's kind of like watching the pros on the driving range take the driver out, and it's just like whoosh, right down the middle every time. I mean, and then the guy, he wants to bend it a little bit. He can do that, and you're thinking these guys are really, really good. But by the time they get to the 3rd round, do they still do the full, amount of time, like 10 minutes or whatever it is for each round? Because that's where it gets old, right?
I think they shrink it. I don't know. Look, they give you them a timeout now. It's like you're admitting it's long.
You need it though, because after a while, I mean, if you're in a batting cage and like 20 pitches are coming rapid fire, but by the time you've taken 20 straight swings in a very short period of time, it's it's a lot tougher than it's just like sometimes. If you're warming up in tennis or something, and you're hitting like 20 shots back and forth, after a while it's just like, wow, where's he out? So yeah, I could see where they need the timeout. I don't know, what could they do to alter the format? Should they go to the old Mark Scott format and go with innings, or just have one round all together and whoever hits the most home runs? So would that make more sense, or that wouldn't drag out the drama enough to appease the people that were sponsoring this thing on TV? No? What do you think?
I wouldn't go to that. That was the point. That when you made me look, when I used to look up those clips, and it would be like, all right, now Willie Mays.
That's great.
There's no one even around. I'm like,
nobody.
It was different then, but would it be? You could have given away tickets. You're telling me people wouldn't watch Willie Mays versus Mickey Mantle hitting home runs? Like that's the one thing I never got was, all right, come here, Willie. Hey, Mick. And then they would like do this, and there's no one there. And I'm like, why is no one there? Like, how boring? And they got the best stars. Like, you wouldn't get those guys now. They got
no way, man.
Joe D. Like, everyone is a legend. It's like, sure, I'll come on Tuesday at 11 and hit home runs to nobody.
What was funny too is the prize if you won on the show was $2,000, which I guess if the Mick what was he, like one of the early $100,000 players? $2,000 is a week's pay, so might have been significant. The loser got $1,000. You got a $500 bonus for hitting 3 home runs in a row, and I think another $500 if you hit a 4th one on top of that. So the guy's walking away like Mickey Mantle's walking away with like money that he spends with Billy Martin at a bar on a Tuesday night for winning this thing. Mantle was 4-1. The all-time champion, I believe, was Hank Aaron. I think made 7 appearances and was 6-1 on the show. But the interviews were great. I mean, that was the best part. And there was like no vibe whatsoever, no buzz in the ballpark, nothing. I mean, just dead silence. And this Mark Scott guy would go, hey, wow, there's a nice shot by Willie Mays. Mickey Mantle be in a booth there, and he go, oh, shucks, Willie can really hit him.
Look it up.
It's like watching Andy of Mayberry with a bat.
Yes, it's on YouTube. I'm telling you, I'm young, so it was past my age. It's classic because there's not. It's the strangest thing. Like in this day and age, you can never envision. And if they did do it, it would be packed. Like they'd be packed. It'd be streaming. It'd be like everywhere. Social media.
Yeah.
They would be like this thing was. You had 4 or 5 of the best hero, and no one's there. Like no one. Like
Superstars. I mean, these were superstars.
I just don't get it. It was like.
Oh, yeah, Bobby Allison, was he in that thing also? Bobby Allison was a great player. I think there was one catcher in the series. I believe it was Gus Triandos, who was not a tremendous home run hitter, but I think they actually wanted to get people that played different positions involved in that. But no, it was great. I remember watching it as a kid. I was 9 years old at the time, and anything with baseball, I was going to watch it. And, it was pretty incredible that there was zero atmosphere as compared to today where the home run derby is the most celebrated thing, I think, all year in Major League Baseball with fans in the stands anyway, right? They're going to jam the place tonight. This will be at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. And, it's going to be, I think, far better than the All-Star game, even though it does tend to drag on. Like when they were still, wheeling a guy out there. Imagine if Albert Pujols makes it to the finals and they have to wheel him out there like he was Peyton Manning coming out for that Super Bowl win by the Broncos. Just an improbable win over the Carolina Panthers, who look to have just a dynamite team with Cam Newton versus Peyton Manning. Imagine that. And who chokes? Newton. Did he choke in that game? Cam Newton? I want to say yes for some reason.
No, he was just...
I don't recall all of the details, but I remember thinking this is not going well. And I remember the Duke had a rather substantial wager while he was catering a lunch in a private room at the Palm Restaurant in Las Vegas. That had to cost him a few bucks to the maitre d', to get a private room in there and serving.
No, that was not.
You're sucking down 5-pound lobsters on the Duke's dime. You have $10 on the Broncos, and you're screaming with every play, yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to be more subdued than that in those circumstances where the Duke, who just won, a substantial amount of dimes while having lousy cards, and a Cambodian dealer was brought in as a cooler. Phu, Phu, right there, Cambodia. I said, Duke, we ought to get up, man. I mean, I wasn't even playing. I was just watching this guy. I mean, he's getting dealt like 2-7. Well, I guess that would be good in blackjack. Worse, like 2-4. He's got 6 all the time, or 14. Ugly cards, and he ends up winning about 10, 11 dimes, which I don't know if he went all in. I don't think he went Chan on this, but he loved Carolina in that game and laying points on top of that, so it was even more disgusting to watch under those circumstances while you're eating like a giant cowboy steak bone-in ribeye on his dime and slobbering that down with some Maine lobster. I'll never forget that, Lubie. I wanted to throw a roll at your head. Just like, I guess you're entitled, though. See, you put a few bucks on something. Look how meaningful all of those strokes were. DeChambeau, like double bogeys, the road hole. This steroid-laced piece of crap. On Saturday, and, there I was, 8 shots out of the lead. Right? Those were 2 of them right there. Even with Morikawa being a stiff. I'll get over it, Libby. I promise you.
I'm sure. Just like the boxer that night.
Yeah. How much fun was it though? For the professor to watch this thing at plus 22.
He went quiet. I was getting texts from him until like the middle of the weekend, and then he went dark because he was on the edge. He was like, "Oh, I guess that I got one from him. Oh, I guess the was so bad." and then after that, he went dark because he was just crossing his fingers.
Well, he didn't want you to jinx him. I actually texted him it's over as McElroy needed to hole out from somewhere off the green from an impossible position. The ball did roll right over the hole, but what are you going to do? Imagine if that goes in and he ties and ends up in a playoff there. They go 4-hole aggregate at the British Open. Anyway, that was it for the majors for the year here. Live Tour players may not live to see another one. And that's going to be more controversy. I believe, though, if you eliminated these guys from this sort of world stage and platform where the entire world is watching, anybody who's a golf fan is at least tuned into a piece of this thing, right? But if you disappear, I mean, what happens? You don't see the Live Tour being picked up because they signed Heinrich Stenson. You think CBS is going to want to break their ties with the PGA? You know, go, what? You got Stenson? Hey, Mo, did you see this? They got Stenson. And now you got to take him more seriously? I don't know. I want you to have to pay Heinrich Stenson to jump off whatever tour he plays on. I would think, is everybody getting $100 million minimum? And does that money go straight into your bank account on a wire?
Oh, yeah, everything.
Might be kind of crazy. All right, we're coming back. Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars, is going to join us here on the show. I'm Jeff DeForest. He is Mike Lubie. It's Hialeah Park, always among our favorites to talk about. We love what's going on there. The Saratoga meet, I believe, only Mondays are dark days at Saratoga. I want to say they race Tuesday through Sunday. Great place to check it out, the Champion Simulcasting Room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Coming back with a little National Football League perspective from the great Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars. He's going to join us next year on the Defo Show on Appeal Yourself Off the Mat Monday. Some interesting comments coming on the chat line, by the way. Always like to recognize that. And let's see. Our good friend Eric saying... fuck Donnie Baseball. I thought that was one that caught my eye. Not happy after that sweep by the Phillies over the weekend, and once again, coming up empty. As soon as they get near 500, they were 2 games under. Right, boom, myth of the Sisyphus, right back down below the Mendoza line for the Marlins, and then on top of that, Julian says that Donovan Mitchell is all over New York, man, loves it. He's throwing out the first pitch at a Brooklyn Cyclones game. He's a giant Mets fan. He can't wait to be wearing a Knickerbocker uniform and become the next second coming of Earl of Pearl Monroe, right there with the Knicks. All right, coming back with more in a moment. Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars, is going to join us here on the Defo Show. Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:30.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
The pleasures of this job, the way a stadium sounds when one of my players performs well on the field, the way we are meant to protect them in health and in injury. Less, more attention, caring for them, caring for ourselves in the games too.
The agent to the stars, the one and only Brett Tessler.
Welcome back to the show, the Defo Show here on South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubie Lubitz. And it's always a pleasure to welcome this gentleman to the program. NFL training camps just about to open their doors. Pretty soon we'll be in the preseason. And a lot of people are jonesing for professional football already. And this man I know is ready for the season, as he has been for the last couple of decades now, plus as one of the leading agents now in the National Football League. Brett Tessler, Tessler Sports Management, joins us here on the program. Brett, the agent to the stars, how are you, my friend?
Doing great, guys. Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
All right, good to have you on the program, as always. All right, one of the stories that's circulating in the National Football League, I guess, and I don't know how much steam that this either will or needs to gather, but you have various impasses with high-level quarterbacks and their current franchises. Kyler Murray, I guess, is looking for a big deal, and it's kind of seems to have implied that he wants out of there. Lamar Jackson is looking for a giant extension, and they're at sort of an impasse. How important is it? How big of an issue do you think it will be for these various teams? And do you see these things getting resolved before this upcoming season?
See, those two names you brought up are tricky ones because they're both guys who have had success. As you mentioned, obviously, they're both at the coveted quarterback position. But, this isn't like Aaron Rodgers coming up on a new contract. This isn't like, some of the other guys around the league who you've seen. This Patrick Mahomes. This isn't situations where you're talking about guys who have won Super Bowls for their team or guys who have proven that they're going to be successful, traditional franchise quarterbacks for the next decade or so. In the case of Lamar Jackson, you're talking about an athletic quarterback who plays a running, physical brand of a quarterback. And in Kyler Murray, you're talking about a guy who has shown moments of being one of the truly elite young quarterbacks in the league. And then there's been too many other moments where it's been the exact opposite, as well as when you combine certain physical limitations there, like his height and other things like that. If you're asking yourself, what do we do? You want to talk about the ultimate catch-22. That guy is certainly too good to, let walk or to move on from. But on the other hand, has he really quite proven that he's worth highest paid in the league, enough guaranteed money that if things really don't end up working in a year or two, that team is absolutely hamstrung for the next 5-6 years. So this is the dilemma that those teams are under. And again, in the case of Kyler Murray, you see the Deshaun Watson contract, and if I am Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson's agent, first thing I'm pointing at is the Deshaun Watson deal, as well as some of the other controversy there that followed that entire transaction. So I'm saying, look, if you're going to pay that guy, if that guy's going to get paid this under these circumstances, why wouldn't you take care of this guy who's been a league MVP or this guy who was the number one overall choice that seemingly is your franchise's quarterback?
Yes, man. So what's interesting to me is in recent years we've seen quarterbacks sort of in the situation bet on themselves, right? Like Dak Prescott, if he had gotten paid by the Cowboys beforehand, would have actually made less than he eventually got by just writing it out. Kirk Cousins was the king of just taking the tag and using it to his advantage. I'm curious, though, as an agent, how scary is that? Because it's your job to get the guy locked up, to know he's secure as you can be in the NFL, and to have a guy, especially with injuries, the way that they place a factor each and every game, let alone each and every season. Like, how scary is it to, quote unquote, let a player play for his money in this day and age in the NFL?
Well, there's obviously a lot of risk inherent with the game of football. And as you said, a couple examples, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, these are guys who were patient, who ended up absolutely breaking the bank. Yep. And so, that's certainly an approach that a player can take if they're willing to assume the risk. And if they do take that gamble and win, then yes, it pays off even greater in the end. In the ideal situation, these deals get done a little bit earlier. So God forbid, if a guy does have a career-altering injury or isn't able, for his sake, to duplicate earlier success, he and his entire family for probably 10 generations will have, again, like generational security. So that's something where, there's something to be said for taking the bird in the hand. On the other hand, obviously, teams can take the patient approach if they want, and they can play the franchise tag game for a couple of years. And if a guy was a first round pick, they have him for the for the fifth year option. So teams control these guys for a while, but nonetheless, nobody should feel bad for NFL. This isn't like Major League Baseball where we're talking 12-year deals at $40 million a year, where, if a guy winds up getting hurt, unless it's a team like the Yankees who just have money to burn, it's going to hurt that team from a financial standpoint. But when you're not operating under a salary cap, it makes it a little bit easier to shake off.
Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars, with us here. Brett's appearance every week brought to you by Will and Trust Attorney, estate planning law firm of one Michael D. Weil. One of the things, it's interesting. I remember being, and this was last year towards the postseason or sometime in the postseason, and somebody mentioned Patrick Mahomes, who somehow became, I don't know if it's a lightning rod name, where these guys at the other table were saying, "Nah, that guy's awful, man. He's finished." And then we've seen him unravel, a couple of times in big ball games now, as successful as he was early on. Where is Patrick Mahomes in the standing of upper echelon quarterbacks? And without Tyreek Hill, do you see him maybe having his at least statistical performance falling off this year?
It's funny, Deep. I don't think you've ever really seen Patrick Mahomes falter by normal standards. Some quarterbacks have better moments, and then, they also have some lesser moments. I just think because he set the bar so high by some of the things we've seen him do early in his career, that anything less than perfection is seen as failure as it relates to him. The reality is he's human. He's still young. He's already got a Super Bowl under his belt. And yeah, obviously this league is just. And so when a guy like him first comes in and ends up throwing a pass left-handed, a defense has never seen that. It's something they don't have to think about. It's something they could never even contemplate. But now that you've seen it, these defenders, these coaches, these defensive minds around the league are incredibly brilliant, and that's just something that now they have in the hard drive. And some of the other tendencies that he may have, different ways that he moves, different ways that he may decide to roll out, different moves he makes when he's trying to escape. The first time anybody sees that stuff, I mean, they're going to get their ankles broke. But once it's been seen and once you learn a guy's tendencies, sort of like in a game of poker, you're able to combat it a little bit better. And so it's incumbent upon Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to continually try to readjust. And as it relates to the loss of Tyreek Hill, yes and no. Obviously, Tyreek is one of the most dynamic weapons in the league. But on the other hand, sometimes when, as a quarterback, you have a guy like that, especially a guy that's very demanding of being a part of the offense, sometimes that leads you to forcing things. And sometimes that leads to interceptions. Sometimes it leads to other players in your offense getting a little bit stagnant. And so, this could be a case of addition by subtraction for the Chiefs. Only time will tell.
Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars, with us here on the Defo Show. And I don't know that any conversation about the NFL upcoming season could possibly go on without at some point mentioning another left-handed thrower. And that would be Tua Tagovailoa, who I know you've had a favorable impression of him, and I want to believe that this is going to work out. Lubie is firmly convinced that this will be a breakthrough season for Tua Tagovailoa, and the Dolphin fans will no longer rue the day that they saw Justin Herbert go at number 6 in that year's draft. What are you thinking? I mean, is there any news out there? I mean, circulating about how things are going with Tua from whatever, or is it just too early to decipher whether or not this is going to work out this season?
The good news, Deep, is fan of the NFL or a fan of the Dolphins. That's the beauty about football. In our off season, unlike other sports where you never really hear anybody mention a word about, an NBA team after the end of their season and really the start of the next season, maybe in the draft for a few minutes. But in the NFL, these are the topics that we can discuss for, days upon days, weeks upon weeks, months among months, to get to the point where we finally are now, where soon, as fun as it's been to talk about the what if and, could it be and what do you think? Now we're going to find out. And in my opinion, this is a situation that's either going to succeed tremendously or the opposite. And so this is the year. This is where everyone's going to know once and for all whether or not this guy can play in the league, whether or not this guy can be an elite player. And in regards to your suggestion that maybe this will be the year when Dolphins fans forget about Justin Herbert, unfortunately, Deef, I don't think the fans are ever going to forget about Justin Herbert. That is truly a generational type talent. And I just, it's one of those things. Nobody's perfect. Teams make mistakes. Every single draft, there's 100 examples of guys that teams could have, should have, would have taken. Obviously, with hindsight, anybody with half a brain, Justin Herbert, I think that guy is going to be the elite of the elite for the next generation once the guys like Brady and Rodgers clear out for good. But that's okay. You don't have to have that guy because, how many Super Bowls has Aaron Rodgers won? One, right? And so, same thing with Drew Brees. So, while it's great to have guys like that, you don't just have to have guys like that. If you've got yourself a good defense, if you've got yourself a good offensive line where you guys can run the ball and, mix things up, then I think that, you could still be very successful. And the way I believe this Dolphins team is being, which is a traditional run-first type team. And again, yes, you added Tyreek Hill, but he helps the running game as much as he helps the passing game. Because now when you've got multiple weapons like him and Waddle, especially guys that are vertical type threats, it definitely takes the top off of defense and it opens things up underneath for guys like some of the other guys that are there. So I think if the offensive line for the first time in many, many years could actually be more than serviceable, I think this team is really, and their defense seems pretty good. I think this team could certainly take the next step, whatever that may be.
Holy Dolphin Denny, man. You got me encouraged there. And it's nice to know that Lubie only has half a brain at best because he'll still insist that Tua was the play over Justin Herbert. But we shall see how that all plays out. All right. One thing you don't want to take a chance with, your will and trust. You need to have your affairs in order. And you never know, right? I mean, look at Ivana Trump, right? Falls down a flight of stairs at 73. Bingo. Lights out. Rolls a 7. So, good idea to have the number handy or the place to contact on the internet handy for one Michael D. Wild.
So true, Defo, and it's so unfortunate, but you watch the news and you see one unfortunate incident after another. Life has gotten even more predictable than it's ever been. And so, you know what? If there's anything you can take, confidence in, it's that if you reach out to Michael Wild at southfloridawills.com, if you haven't got your estate and trust taken care of, basic wills, you name it, this guy does it right, affordably, quickly. And once it's done, again, it just lets you know that when you leave that house every day, regardless whether you're going to make it back home or not, your family is going to be taken care of. Reach out to Michael Wild, southfloridawills.com.
Brett, always a pleasure, my friend. Getting close. I guess, training camps, will they be open next week, the week after this? Is that when it all starts up?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Also, it's, nice. We're you got it, guys. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Brett Tessler. You could tell he had another call come through there. Yep. All right. There was some technical adversity there. Was it Tessler's call? Was it your setup
call in the
there?
beginning was going in and out. But I mean, I don't know where the hell.
So I'm getting a little scratchiness coming on your end there too, Mike Louie. So I don't know if we can make amends there. I appreciate the people alerting us to that as the stream was falling apart at the seams here on a Peel Yourself Up on Monday edition of the Defo Show. All right, we're coming back with more. I'm Jeff DeForest. He's Mike Lubie. Stick around. We'll take you up until 9 o'clock here on the East Coast with our live show, South Florida Live, our new channel, and glad the word is getting out there. And please continue to spread it as Lubie has the link. Should just keep that on the screen also, I guess, for people past. I guess they found us, so they must know what it is. Anyway, subscribe to South Florida Live, Facebook, and also YouTube. And you can join the fun, join the party every day. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 12 o'clock today. Mayo's been making some scores lately at the track. He also was a judge in that Boca Burger battle. And it looked like he at least had taken a bite out of about 8 different burgers, Mayo.
This guy.
Not all were pictured. I'm not sure. Now, that would be a tough distinction to make if you were eating 8 different hamburgers to decide which one was the best. I mean, if you were choosing between 1 or 2, but 8, I don't know. By the time you get around, I guess you just make your notes and, hey, that was a really good burger. But by the time you got to the 8th one, wouldn't it be like that 6th hot dog that Mayo was attempting? You're just like, I don't care what this tastes like. It's going to be like shit to me. Anyway, we'll get that adventure coming up on Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. That's at 12 o'clock here on South Florida Live. I'm Jeff DeForest. He's Mike Lubie Lubitz, and we'll return with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
Hopefully, people, this thing has cleaned itself up here. It's 8:49.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
I have sinned against you, my Lord.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz. Peel yourself off the mat Monday. And our thanks to Brett Tessler, Sean Deveney for joining us here on the program. Thank you guys for tuning in. The All-Star break is on in Major League Baseball. If you're looking at the pennant races, I mean, what can we conclude so far on the baseball season? Yankees, a dynamite first half, playing nearly 700 ball. They're still kvetching about certain things. I mean, as great as it's going, they had a little bit of a letdown, just a slight slump. What did they lose, like 4 out of 7 or something? And people were in a panic in New York. The Cashman needs to get off his ass and do something. And they annihilate the Red Sox over the weekend, 13-2 yesterday. Just an absolute disaster. Chris Sale comes out there, pitches for the Red Sox for the first time, I think, in a long time. And is injured, of course, again, unfortunately for him. Got hit, I think, a line drive, broken pinky. And he was getting shelled anyway. Tampa Bay, still a remarkable story, huh? The Tampa Bay Rays, you have to, I mean, really wonder why the Marlins organization hasn't been able to replicate. Is it because they just don't have the front office personnel? Who owns the Tampa Bay Rays that they hire these geniuses, no matter how many of them defect and go elsewhere? And then, just continue to cycle players sitting there in the American League East where the Yankees are having a phenomenal season, and they're 10 games over 500, but that still leaves them in second place, 13 games out. Pretty incredible. The two central divisions in both the American and the National League seem to be the weakest links. Huh? Central Division in the American League being led by the Minnesota Twins by a couple of games over the Cleveland Guardians. Couldn't tell you much about either of those two teams. Could you? Did they get Dave Goltz back, the Twins? I don't know. Who the hell's on the Twins? Cleveland Guardians?
No idea.
Years ago, I mean, when they had the Jake there, they were the darlings of Major League Baseball and being heralded as the way to run an organization. And, like I said, that was years ago.
Yep.
That was late 90s, right? When they took on the Marlins in the World Series. It looked like they were the model, the prototype by which all organizations should base their logic and thinking. And turned out didn't reap too many benefits from that. Although there were, there was a subsequent World Series appearance, right? By the Cleveland Indians.
Years later.
Yeah.
Then there's the Cubs. Isn't that who the Cubs beat?
I believe so. Yeah, I want to say yes to that. All right, so that's the Central, and Tony La Russa is getting, just absolutely, skewered for looking like he's bordering far more into senility than he is towards his championship caliber managing skills. Whereas La Russa not the all-time leading winner of games, Major League Baseball history? Tony La Russa, is he number one?
Coach a lot.
I want to say yes to that for some reason. Anyway, the White Sox are looking in the background, just 3 games back of what is a very mediocre division, where 50-44 is leading at the All-Star break, and the Houston Astros are doing it again. 9 games up on Seattle. Seattle's having one of their better years, right? They're sitting there. They're 9 games over 500, and they still find themselves 9 games off the pace being set by the Houston Astros, Jesus. And that's in the American League. And it doesn't appear that anybody else in that division really has any kind of a shot. Texas, who did they have the number one? No, they took that guy Kumar Rocker. Remember, it was 1-2 with Jack Leiter for Vanderbilt a couple of years ago. Leiter got taken number 1. Rocker went number 10 to the Mets, and the Mets didn't sign him. And I want to say Rocker's a Scott Boras client.
Yep.
Then he has subsequent shoulder surgery. And that was kept relatively quiet. And now he was re-entered into the draft this year, and he gets taken number 3 by the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, the Rangers are the ones that took Leiter. So now they have Leiter, and they have both Vanderbilt teammates, Rocker.
And those guys, really wear lights out. I mean, who was the other starter on that Florida State team with Paul Wilson? They had another guy that was of some great significance also. And you thought, how could this team ever lose, except that Mike Martin never could come through in the College Baseball World Series. All right, Mets in the National League. The Mets, he's still 2.5 up on the Braves. I want to go on a limb here and say the Braves overtake the Mets. No, how could they? You got Scherzer back in there, and DeGrom is like one outing away from, I believe, pitching in the bigs. I think he's going to throw like a simulated game, which I always find interesting. And after that, they're probably going to plug him into the rotation. Jacob deGrom, who's hitting 100 miles on the jugs gun, 100 miles per hour, and has been dominant, making a couple of appearances. I guess he started a AAA game on Thursday, and I think won a few innings in there and looked very good. So Jacob deGrom getting ready to come back. How long does he last? Does he go the rest of the season? What do you think, deGrom? Very fragile, my friend. Very fragile.
Yeah, he's always.
All right, but if they get DeGrom back, I mean, how could the Mets? Maybe the Mets then outlast the Braves. What do you think? Mets, Braves. Who are you going to take there in that race? National League East.
Mets. I think the Mets. I know it's stupid because the Braves are defending champions and they've done this every year recently. But I mean, the Mets. At some point, you're going to get DeGrom back and Scherzer's back, and then I feel like they're due. I'm going to go Mets. It's probably stupid of me, but I'll give the Mets a nod. I'll go Mets.
Central Division airtight race there with Milwaukee and the St. Louis Cardinals a half game apart. Pittsburgh at 39-54, 11 games off the pace there. But the Central is weak, where the Milwaukee Brewers are leading, only being 7 games over 500. And then the Dodgers are in a runaway in the National League West. The L.A. Dodgers, the best team money can buy. San Diego having a decent year, but 10 games off the pace, sitting there at the All-Star break.
Yep.
So interesting. I mean, obviously the Yankees. Who wins it all now? Would you go with Houston, Yankees, Dodgers? None of the above.
I'd go Yankees. I think the Yankees, if they face the Astros, are going to ruin them. I think they still hold a massive grudge over that year. Yes, and the Astros cheated everybody, but the Yankees felt like personally they were better in that series. And if it wasn't for the musical accompaniment, that the Yankees would have won that series. So I feel like the Yankees are going to let out all the frustration on the Astros. And we've known the Dodgers have won recently. So, it's harder to come back and win again. And the Yankees are in a drought. Like, it feels like the Yankees here. Like, this year has been all Yankees.
It's funny. The Astros have been hot.
They're great.
It was great when Carlos Beltran looked like the percussion section for Carlos Santana, who passed out, by the way. I guess he had a similar incident as I did. I don't know if he just got up out of a chair, Santana, but how weird is that when all of a sudden you're blacked out for like a split second? You're like, what the hell's going on here? What is that? Low blood pressure, Lubie? Is that what that comes from? That's what some guy was telling me by the pool a few minutes later. And then everything sort of just like snapped right back into focus. It was weird.
Maybe dehydration. Right? I don't know.
It's like getting hit by Mike Tyson, right? Right on the bridge of the nose there. You're like, whoa, man, I'm seeing stars here for a second. All right, we were seeing stars all morning long. It was great. Peeling ourselves off the mat here on a Monday. We'll do it again tomorrow. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, we're off today. We got a little re-rack going of one of the famous Lunchbox episodes of the past where Mike was on the road with Nicky Mohan. And that is a great campaign being run by the city of Fort Lauderdale. They do a tremendous job. Where they're, trying to give added exposure for some of these restaurants. I don't know. They're not really all mom and pop type of stuff, but usually, an individual has invested like their life savings in this thing, and they're out there just doing an honest day in the restaurant biz. And fortunately, the places that you've been going to, Lubie, all of them are kind of making it, right? All very popular spots. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And he mixes in a few classics like Jackson's. Although I noticed a heavy ice cream theme.
Yeah, we're going
with Mayo in the selections of these places.
Ice cream.
Where are you heading?
Ice cream again this week. Third time in the last 5 weeks we're doing ice cream. Sort of hinting.
Ice cream, you scream. We all scream for ice cream. Anyway, Mike's going to be off today, so we'll do it again tomorrow with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox with a live show here on the South Florida Live channel. And once again, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. It's always a pleasure being with you. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. And we'll say have a great day, everybody, as we leave you now that. It's 9:01.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.